We are less than a week away from the premiere of Dino Fury Season 2 on Netflix, and we've gotten a lot of information about Season 2, not only from the show itself, but also from the Hasbro toy line I would like to talk about, and it is a little bit older news, so I'm not going to cover it for a terribly long amount of time, but then also we have some brand new information that came out this morning from MegaPowerBrasil that could point to a possible 30th season of Power Rangers in 2023. So let's go ahead and get right on into it. So we got a trailer for Dino Fury Season 2 last week that kind of gave us some new footage, of course, at Season 2, a little bit more than we've had before from some of the more recent Hasbro events, because they showed a clip at PulseCon, they showed a clip at 1027, that kind of stuff. But we have some more information about Season 2 in terms of some characters that are going to be showing up, and a little bit of the new intro, or actually we got the new intro, which the intro is very interesting this time around. It's a very short intro, and they've condensed down the Ranger, title cards, like when they, look at the screen and smile with their actor name. They've condensed it now to where it's 2 Rangers per title card sequence, which I think is pretty interesting. Some people were kind of complaining about that, of it feeling a little squished, or not giving each character a unique screen to their own. It's something Power Rangers has done before. We have seen this back in RPM with RPM Gold and Silver. A little bit different of a case there, and I think it works. I like how they paired it. I like when the helmets are it's half of the helmet and then it shows the characters. And it's the intro, it's not that big of a deal. But kind of the big things to talk about from the Season 2 trailer is we've seen a little bit of Void Knight unmasked and everything, which is really cool, and definitely makes me really want them to do a Lightning Collection figure of the Void Knight suit. And speaking of Void Knight, we see a little bit more of what is assumed to be his wife in a monstrous form. So we kind of got this leaked a couple of weeks ago. There was a stunt coordinator kind of post that talked about certain stunt actors for certain characters, and one of them listed was Void Queen. And we hadn't seen a Void Queen. We didn't know who a Void Queen would be. We were thinking of possible candidates from the Rue Soldier lineup of monsters that it could be. The monster form of her is going to be none other than Madame Noir from Toku. The Shadow line itself is making a return in terms of Power Rangers monster suits. I absolutely adored the Shadow line suits from Toku. I literally think that they are the best designed villain group I have ever seen for a Sentai, and honestly they are the biggest disappointments for me of us never adapting to Toku, because I would have loved to get figures of these guys, and we just never did. We had already kind of seen some Toku suit use before. We got to see Baron Nero. His suit was used back during Ninja Steel, even though it's a little bit modified with a different head and everything. This one here does not look to be modified really much at all. It just seems to be the Madame Noir suit from Toku, pretty much straight up. So I would love to see this continue. I'd love to see us get more Toku suits somehow. Very surprising to me that they're doing this, especially because, when they did Ninja Steel, Toku was already 3-4 years old by that point. But now that was 5 years ago, 4 or 5 years ago from that. So it's surprising to me that some of these monster suits are still intact, or if they've been recreated possibly. I think that would be a little weird if they had been, and not just not just using their Soldier suit that's probably already there. But overall, I think Dino Fury Season 2 is going to be fun. I'm looking forward to see what they're going to do with it. I'm looking forward to see how this works in terms of Netflix. We've never gotten a Power Rangers season exclusive to Netflix before. We kind of got to see sort of, a big drop of episodes last fall when they kind of dropped the back half of Season 1 on there. And we're going to kind of see that again here, because Thursday, March 3rd is when this is dropping, Season 2, and they are dropping the first half of the season according to the Hasbro press release, which should be the first 11 episodes out of 22. So, very interested to see how that's going to go. Certain fans are going to binge through it, certain fans are probably not going to binge through it, so there's going to be spoilers all over the place. It's going to be a minefield on Twitter if you're trying to avoid Dino Fury spoilers next week. So I'm just very interested to see how this is going to go down, and what they have in store for us for Dino Fury Season 2. Now we have some other Dino Fury Season 2 tidbits, and of course some toys to discuss. But one thing in terms of the 11 episodes, half of the season 22 thing, it was really interesting. This past week we got to see Simon Bennett, the executive producer of Power Rangers Dino Fury, who's been very vocal on Twitter. Even though there's been a lot of ridiculous tweets sent his way, he still once in a while tweets at us about Power Rangers, and we're all very, very thankful for that, that he puts up with all of the nonsense that he also gets to sort through. But he was talking about on Twitter how apparently at one point Dino Fury was only supposed to be 1 season of 22 episodes and not 2 seasons, which is very, very interesting information. So what's really cool about that is that we get more Dino Fury. We got to see more of these characters in this cast, of course, for a longer period of time. But it also does make sense when you kind of look at the different legal contracts of airing and everything that we knew about. If you're not familiar with how this went down, the airing contract that Dino Fury Season 1 had completed was the end of the contract that was signed by Saban Brands back in early 2018 to extend their viewership deal, or their airing deal, with Nickelodeon for an additional 3 years. So this was before Hasbro even came in and took over the brand. It was like right before they did that. And basically this deal extended it through 2019, 2020, and 2021, which of course ended up becoming the 2 seasons of Beast Morphers and the first season of Dino Fury. So we were all wondering what was going to happen with Dino Fury Season 2 when it was announced that it was going to be 2 seasons, and then we found out that the deal was not renewed with Nickelodeon, and now Season 2 is coming to Netflix. So at some point in time, they were given another season, but it does seem that Season 28, which was Dino Fury Season 1, was going to be the last season of Power Rangers for the foreseeable future, before they got the extension for Season 29, which could have been because of the pandemic. Possibly they wanted to just keep Dino Fury going another year before they could figure out what they wanted to do afterward, which we're going to talk about in a little bit here today, or something else happened. But it's very interesting. He talked about how, there's certain episodes that were written that were kind of filler episodes just to extend their time for the 44 that they were given. But I mean, to me, it's felt pretty much the same as any of these 2-year Power Ranger seasons have been. Ever since Samurai, we've done this 2-year, pattern of seasons. And so to me, I would have not known the difference at all that Dino Fury was not supposed to be 2 seasons at one point in time. But it's just interesting going into that, knowing that. And once we see how Season 2 pans out, I'm very interested if, you go and look back at the whole thing, what episodes could be considered those like filler ones, or what plot lines could have been those filler ones that they wrote in when they found out that they had more time. It's just very interesting stuff to think about. And of course, a new Power Ranger season brings some new toys, and we have a couple little cool things to talk about that they announced in terms of toy-wise. They just put it out in a press release. They didn't do anything big or anything like that. And the first one is going to be the Mega Fury Saber, which is a replica of the sword that is seen in the Megazord cockpit fights. It's basically the swords that we see on the Russos / the Power Keys. This looks really cool. It looks huge. Like, wow. We see a kid holding it in these promo shots, and like, yeah, this definitely looks like a very impressive piece of Power Rangers toy line stuff here. And what's kind of funny about it is they specifically show you using it, or at least the hilt of it, to hit that big red button on the Dino Knight Morpher. So you could do that with the sword, or you could just take it, it's this button right here, and do it yourself. Or you can buy a $40 sword to hit it. Or you can buy a $40 sword to hit a red button. The other piece of brand new merchandise is the Void Knight Gear Up set, which this one is really cool. I'm really excited that they're doing something like this for Void Knight. It's very similar to the Red Ranger one we got last year for Season 1. It comes with a mask, and it comes with the little Dino Saber dagger versions of them, of the Chroma Fury Sabers, the little daggers. So this is not something I would have expected to get for Void Knight. He's definitely getting a good amount of toys in the toy line, which makes me really happy. It also makes me think that possibly he will be redeemed and turn good, kind of like what happened in New Soldier. No idea of knowing that for sure. It just seems like he's getting a lot of toys for being a villain character. So I'm very excited to see this happen. The little dagger is just a repaint of the one from last year, so nothing too crazy there. But the mask is brand new, so if you'd like to get a little, Guy Solg mask to hang up on the wall or something, this is a perfect thing for you. And I can see why a lot of people are going to be either picking this up or at least excited that it exists in the Dino Fury toy line for Void Knight. And for the rest of this video today, we have to talk about Power Rangers in 2023. So what's really interesting is that this video is late with the Dino Fury news. All of this is about a week old at this point, but I still wanted to share my thoughts on it, especially as the season has yet to air. It still is going to air next week. And this is where the video would have ended by now. But this morning, we got some brand new information, or possible information, that was very interesting, and I'd like to just talk about it here for a minute. There's really not a lot we can say, or maybe there's more we can speculate on, but basically, MegaPowerBrasil, they're a news site from Brazil for Power Ranger stuff, they found these casting slides that they wanted to post this morning, and it is a very interesting thing that we got to see here. If you're familiar at all about the future of Power Rangers discussion, and everything that's been happening on Twitter because of the Illuminati, or just, other fandom outlets, it's been absolutely insane talking about the future of the Power Rangers franchise after this current year, because we do not know what's happening after 2022, And usually we would know. We would know what was going to happen in the next year around this time, or we would have at least a pretty good idea. But right now we have no airing contract for another season. We don't know if we're going to get a season 30 of Power Rangers. For a very long time, we've been hearing about this Power Rangers cinematic universe that's being built at Netflix by Jonathan Entwistle, and we don't really have any updates on that. We've barely heard anything about that. So, everybody's, what's going to happen? Is the franchise canceled? Is it going animated? The movie, more mature, Mighty Morphin Forever? And the answer is probably a combination of all this stuff. There's even been rumblings of, are we going to get Sentai adaptions anymore? Probably not. If we were, what are they going to do? Are they going to do Zyuohger? Are they going to do Kira Major? Are they going to do something else? Who knows? But the only piece of, concrete evidence is that it does seem like something is going to actually happen for Power Rangers in 2023, some sort of production of some kind, and possibly a production a little bit more in line of what we are typically used to with a Sentai adaptation. Maybe. The stuff in the casting slides is really not that important at all. It's just a generic conversation, that they give for actors to read. That part's not interesting. What's interesting is on the other document, which is kind of the information about this. And basically, it talks about filming in New Zealand, which is where the current Power Rangers seasons have been filming for nearly 20 years, ever since Ninja Storm. And it talks about them filming something in the fall of 2022 for about 5 to 6 weeks. And that is where it's really interesting to read into this. 5 to 6 weeks is not how long they are usually in New Zealand to film an entire season of Power Rangers. And if you don't know how it works, they fly out to New Zealand, they film the first season for a while, they get a little bit of a break, they come back, they film the second season, and all that kind of good stuff. But here, that usually is an 8 to 9 month process. Here, it's a 5 to 6 week process with ADR happening in January of 2023. So it sounds like they would be wrapping up the whole thing, whatever this is, by early 2023, which is probably going to be the airing 2023 season. But since there's such that limited time of production here, this is probably for something shorter. Is this going to be a half a season of Power Rangers? Is this going to just be one season of Power Rangers, 22 episodes? Probably not 22 episodes. Is this a miniseries? Is this a series of shorts? I mean, there's really, who could say? There's no idea about what this is necessarily going to be here. I'm just going to share my thoughts. I personally am not a fan of what I've been hearing and what has been already revealed and stuff about the new cinematic universe. I'm not super enthusiastic about it. I'm going to support it, and then I'm going to see what happens with it. But I like Power Rangers how it is right now. I like what the Boom Studios comics are doing the best. I think the show is fine. I think it can always be improved, but I would like them to continue Sentai adaptations. If not for anything, I'd love to see certain Sentai get Lightning Collection treatments that they would be basically guaranteed to get if they get a Sentai adaptation. I would love to see Zyuohger, I would love to see Kira Major, any of them. I don't really care. Q Ranger is my top choice, but I don't think they're going to ever do it. But yeah, it's just very, very interesting here, and we really need Hasbro to say something about the future of this franchise, just to kind of, if anything, to calm fans' minds, because of course, you know how Toku Twitter is, you know how the fandom is, we read into everything, we over-exaggerate everything, we freak out about everything. We really do need to dial it back and just breathe for a second and see what Hasbro has in store for us. I personally don't think that whatever Hasbro has planned is going to succeed, and I know that that's really a bold thing to say and a kind of a rude thing to say about the franchise, but I just don't think this franchise has, the ability to become mainstream again. I think it's always going to be this very obscure, small fan-based property, and I know that's not what Hasbro wants, but I think it's going to be very tough for them to try to appeal to the general audiences for this. The 2017 movie kind of proved that the franchise doesn't really work for the mainstream right now, and maybe they just need to do the right thing, whatever that is. I don't know what the secret is of what needs to happen to appease both the fan base and the mainstream. The answer probably is appeasing the mainstream over the fan base, as it usually is, but I'm very interested to see what's going to happen with this franchise going forward. If this whatever is happening with this in New Zealand, if this is kind of a last hurrah for the way Power Rangers has been done for nearly 30 years, I think it would be a really big shame if Dino Fury Season 2, which is Season 29, is the end of traditional Power Rangers. I would love to see them do, even if this is like a little mini season, I would love to see them do a Season 30 that maybe adapts a certain Sentai and brings back people, and it's kind of just one big last finale for the current iteration of the franchise. I would love that. I love that a lot. Lots of weird things going on right now. We had that tweet from Amy Jo Johnson that was talking about them not acknowledging the originals, which I think Mighty Morphin is way oversaturated, so that tweet was kind of hilarious to me. I think that there's been the whole thing of the Quantum Continuum thing that David Yost has been promoting, that's not going to go anywhere, in my humble opinion. There was a tweet from Joe, who runs the Illuminati, that was talking about the future of the Power Rangers franchise, and he actually tagged me in it about doing a little show of Toku Chris, Ranger Liz, Heirloom, Eric, all those people, and getting together and just chatting about the future of the franchise and stuff that he already knows that is coming and everything like that. And I'm a part of the Illuminati team, so obviously I would love to chat with them and everything and talk about the future of this franchise. But very interesting stuff going on here. Of course, we got Dino Fury Season 2 to look forward to. Usually the future, or especially during the Season 2s of these 2-year periods of time, always get overshadowed by what's coming next, and we're at that point in time right now. But we still have an entire season of Dino Fury to look forward to, with half of it dropping on Netflix next Thursday, March 3rd, which we assume is 11 episodes, an exact half of the season. And I cannot wait to see what Simon Bennett and the amazing cast of the show has for us this year. And of course, whatever happens with Power Rangers, I'll be here to cover it. I'll be here to support it the best that I can. And also criticize it if I feel like I need to. And I would absolutely love to hear what you guys have to say about all this in the comments down below. What do you think about Dino Fury Season 2? Are you going to buy that big saber? Are you going to buy that Void Knight pack? And of course, what do you think is going on with these casting slides that MegaPowerBrasil found? Do you think it's a little mini season? Do you think it's like a short series? Do you think it's a season 30 with a Sentai adaptation? Something completely different? Is this Mighty Morphin? Is this, what is this? What do you think it is? What do you want it to be? And I would love to hear what you all have to say in the comments. Until next time, you can follow me on Twitter at LivingRichKey or at LightningStreetPR, and I'll see you all next time.